All right, y'all look like we live here. Live and in the building. Greg said it. Back with our typical day after the game conversation, talking about those Colorado Buffaloes and the matchup between Colorado and Nebraska yesterday. One of the main things that we discussing is what happened. That's what everybody want to know. I think it's kind of like a lot of people jumped on a lot of shows. I seen a little bit of content, and a lot of people do it immediately after. And I like to have the time to digest. Plus, it's a late game, so I like to have time to digest what happened. Primarily, like I always do, the good, bad, and ugly in a conclusion. Now, I'm going to say this that this show is brought to you by Unified Strength, as you see there and there. Unified Strength is all about supporting the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm telling you right now, it's needed more than ever. You know, this is the time where people really jump shift. But you know, United Strength is about the supporting what's going on. I know a lot of people on the fence. Some people are already on the fence. And I'm not going to really get too heavy into that because I'm going to do a special inspiration motivation later. So make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe because I don't want to get too deep in what I really want to say about that in particular because I'm going to do a whole video on that. So it behooves you if you are here, and it's probably half of you here, whether you're watching the replay or whether you're watching us live, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and make sure you catch that video. We're going to be talking about something. I'm going to give you a hint. It's called the losing spirit. We're talking about the losing spirit that's going on, and it, you know how that thing works, and I can identify exactly what it is. And you know, I can even identify people who are running here with the losing spirit. See, a losing spirit attracts losing. It's not happy to see losing. And some of the people who want to see Colorado lose most is because they lose. They have a losing spirit. And they can't a losing spirit can't stand for success, whether it's their own or somebody else. So some people, you know, I'm not saying all of them, but you really pay attention to how people operate when they see excited about Coach Prime losing. That a lot of people have a losing spirit in them. And you probably can look at their life, they're not really successful because when you look at it, people are usually successful, don't have the time and energy to see other people fail. That usually a successful person either wants somebody else to see or they ain't just got time. I mean, you lose that. I'm not putting on energy. You don't need my energy. You're going to lose regardless. But when people like got that crab mentality, I want to see you fail because I'm failing. I'm not happy. I want to see you not happy. You look a little too happy for me. You know, that's when you see that. But we'll get more into that thing. You know, I wasn't even going to go into that part of it. But I'm glad I went over that. But what happened in Colorado? Y'all feel free to come and chat. That's what you're here for. You know, people come in and they say something. You hear the feed, the chat. You hear to say what you say. Nobody crying over because this is the Greg Said It show. It's Greg Said It live. So with that, let's get started. It was some good things that happened. And I'm telling you, when you have a game like that, it's hard to see the good. It's hard to see the good things because it's a lot of negative things, but I know I'm gonna have some and y'all have some. So while we talk about the good, that's where we at right now. Get over in that chat. Make sure y'all like, make sure y'all share, make sure y'all subscribe. Shout out to everybody coming in. Let everybody know you here, where you from. And right now we're talking about the good, anything good you saw. One of the first things I'm just gonna jump out there and say that I saw was good. No score in the second half for 2 weeks in a row, which is odd to me. It's odd. I don't know. Maybe y'all can explain it. It's odd to me. Last week, they kind of jumped out on Colorado, and Colorado was able to come back and win because they didn't score no more. And it's almost like in our mind, we tell ourselves we lost because I'll get into that later. The comment by Coach Prime. I love for him to hear what I got to say about that. But they won last week, just in case people forgot. And they were losing last week, and they kind of battled back and forth, but they was losing going into halftime. And what really made them win, you think about it, they shut that team out. That team scored at the end, but they scored 6 of their, well, how many points did they score last week? Was it like 26? 6 of their 26 points was scored. They scored 20 points. Now think how identical that is. They gave up 28 points this week, and they lost 28-10. They gave up 20 points last week, and they lost 26. I mean, they won again 31-26. That means that Colorado, in some weird way, we could compare them. He said that was the FCS team. What they did to the FBS team this week, they goose-stegged them in the second half. We can say, I mean, the quarterback didn't really come out. He played. I mean, they didn't take their starters out like they did last week. You would have thought they could have, but Colorado really was coming down on them in the second half. And I think that's what really, they had to really clock manage that thing. It was some weird things we'll get into, and we're going to point them out because that's what we're here to do. But they had some clock management stuff going on that they maintained. They ran the ball a little more, and Colorado clearly was stopping them. Now, the best thing they had on their side is they're going to eat up the clock so you don't have as many possessions. And believe it or not, they won the time of possession. Colorado wasn't that far behind them. You really look at the stats, and I don't want to get too stat heavy because I just want to kind of express more than anything. I mean, but you can pull the stats. The time of possession wasn't that far off. I know I had some stats at one point that had the side by side, and I'm trying to get back to it, because team stats, for example, okay, I have it here. Nebraska had 35 minutes and 21 seconds, and Colorado had 24. So we're looking at about 11-minute difference. And a lot of that has to do with the beginning of the game. Colorado just 3 and out. The time of possession stuff, if you really can break it down, I'm sure that was in the beginning of the game. Colorado hasn't fully perfected the time of possession. We're not going to get too heavy in that. But since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and rattle off some stats for y'all. Colorado total yards was 260, Nebraska 334. Colorado passing yards is 244. The quarterback only threw 185 yards for people who really looking at whatever. Now, the rushing yards for Nebraska was 149. So, again, when we talk about it, who really controlled the game? Was it the quarterback or was it the running game? They really protected him. We'll talk about that. He didn't turn over the ball, but he didn't do a whole lot with the passing. It may seem like it, but it was the running game as they milked the clock, especially that second half. They didn't score, but they clearly got 149, which is not a whole lot, but it's effective when the other team is not producing. Also, Colorado only had 16 yards. Of course, that's including sacks, right? So we never really fully know, because if they say yards per play, Nebraska had 5.1, Colorado had 4.2. So it wasn't even a 4-yard difference per play. Now, first downs, again, Nebraska had 22 first downs. Colorado only had 15. But think about it. Colorado wasn't getting no first downs in the pretty much that first half. They weren't getting no first downs. So you got to think about it. Them playing a half of a game. They didn't even score. Okay. So you got to look at the fact they had 15, and Nebraska only had 7 more first downs than Colorado. Also, third down efficiency. Check this out. It looked like something different, but it really wasn't. Nebraska third down efficiency was only 3 out of 12. And Colorado's was 4 out of 14. It's pretty identical. Pretty identical. Colorado had more third downs by 2. But Nebraska only had 3 out of 12 in efficiency. It looks way more dominant. That's the way you here to have real talk. Because we want to look at it. What's going on? We want to look at it. For y'all who here, for you in the replay. And we're going to get back to the good in a minute. But since I'm in the stats, I'm going to stick here. Fourth down efficiency, 0-0. That means that Nebraska didn't have no fourth downs, I guess, as far as what they went for. But Colorado only had 1 out of 3 fourth down conversions. You know, they had a couple of them that they couldn't convert. They converted 1 on fourth down. Total plays. Check this out, y'all. Nebraska had 65 total plays. Colorado had 62. Now, I'm giving y'all perspective here, because that's what I do. What's going on, Mr. Woodland? Yeah, we're going to talk logical here. I know everybody don't did the emotion stuff. I did that day yesterday. They did that yesterday. I talked to some folks, but I'm just going to give perspective here. Because since nobody else want to do it, you want to be emotional, But I'm going to give y'all perspective. And y'all want to run it back, or y'all pull the same stats. I'm looking at it on my phone right now. I wasn't even going to go, because I usually don't go in the stats, but this is going to help a lot as we talk. Total plays, 65, Nebraska, 62. So they didn't have that many more plays, even though they had 11 minutes more time of possession. So that means there's definitely clock management right there. Punts. Nebraska punted the ball 7 times. That's strategy. Colorado punted it 5 times. You would think when you losing that you would punt more, right? Total yards as far as penalties. Nebraska had 12 penalties for 105 yards. They had more penalties. But Colorado only had 9. But they had 104 yards. You only had 1 yard difference. But you had four less. You had 3 less penalties. 3 less penalties. That's interesting to me. 3 less penalties. We digging here. We can deal with the shallow, or we can dig. I'm looking at some stuff I didn't realize. Because when you look at the game, I'm getting to it, y'all. Let me take my time as y'all come in this room. Let me keep the comments coming. Fumbles lost. Colorado fumbled the ball and lost it. Nebraska didn't. No turnovers for Nebraska. Interceptions thrown. Colorado threw 1. Nebraska didn't. Could those be the differences in the game? No turnovers on Colorado. I meant from Nebraska's end. But Colorado lost a fumble. I'm trying to remember when that was. And I know about the touchdown. And we'll get into that. The interception. Again, time of possession. What's going on, Big Worm? Time of possession here. Time of possession. 35 minutes, 21 seconds for Nebraska. 24 minutes, 39 seconds for Colorado. Yet, everything else is almost identical. Their third down efficiency is almost identical. Their number of plays is almost identical. Nebraska punted the ball 2 times more. Nebraska had more penalties. They just somehow had less yards. Well, only 1 yard more. Yards per play were identical, 5.1 to 4.2. They had significantly more rushing yards. That's a big difference. But we had more passing yards. And our total yards wasn't even 100 yards off for them to win. So let's get down into this thing. This is what Greg said to do. I don't know what y'all do, but let's just get into it. I got something for all that. I got that. I got your paid bomb. I got something for that. Because that's what we do. Everybody do their thing. That's why y'all here. I ain't here to say the same old stuff everybody say. I'm not going to feed the same animal, y'all, because I'm going to break it down. I don't have to make excuses. I don't have to justify anything. I'm going to give y'all the facts. See, people in life don't want to hear the facts. They want to talk. A lot of people throw off emotion as facts. A lot of people wanted Colorado to lose this game, and then when it happened, it's facts. But if the Colorado won, they know where to be found. Or they moving the goalposts. I'm not going to move the goalposts. I'm going to give y'all facts. What I just gave y'all is stats. Those are facts. And perspective of how did they lose 28-10? We're going to get into it. Yeah. No mistakes. I'm glad you said it about 2 having to win the game. I'm going to get into that. Again, we see that again. Penalties, standing drives. Absolutely. Yeah. We got a clown here. So here we are back at the good. What do we see that was good? What do we see that was good? Like I said, the good was fat. They didn't score not a touchdown, not a field goal, not nothing in the second half. Maybe the clown got an answer for that. Nothing happened. We need to feed him. The good, we talking about the good, y'all. Hit me with the good in the chat. No score in the second half. We can call it second half adjustments. That's a positive, I guess. Also, we got a good one. BJ Green got a block punt. That could have been a pivotal point. I didn't put Jimmy Horn, but Jimmy Horn had a good kickoff return that it didn't convert the points. Absolutely. That was my other. Jimmy Silman Craig balled out, had double-digit tackles, solo tackles. He had a few tackles for loss. And yeah, you would have thought he wasn't even out the game last week with the show. I mean, he was hitting. He wasn't scared to hit. Absolutely. Anything else I missed? I mean, y'all can put it in as you go. Special teams did all right. I mean, they didn't give up that major. The field goal thing was interesting. We missed two of them, blocked or whatever. And weird stuff with that. McKinney looked good at times. Sometimes he was physical, sometimes he was less physical. I'll say that. I give him a B minus. He was, some of the times I feel like he could have laid some wood. He just kind of reached instead of running through them. But he made some plays. He didn't give up no big plays. Seconds gonna have last 2 weeks. Yep, Travis over 100 yards again. And yes, he's still healthy. That's good. Because we know that Shiloh went down with a fracture, a broke forearm. You know, Travis, yeah, he played good defense as well. Shepard, yeah, Shepard he's been, I guess, slowly get into place. Shepard slowly get into place. I try to spend as much time on the positive as possible because I know we're gonna have more bad and ugly than and I know everybody want to talk about the bad and ugly. Yeah, I mentioned Jimmy's return already. Jimmy had a good return and put you on the other side of 50 in the time where you needed. I think by that point we was down 14-0, something like that. So that was a good chance to get, and we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. Yeah, it's just one game. Yeah, we're gonna get into that too. Shiloh, yeah. So let's go ahead and get to the bad. Why delay? That's what some people are here for anyway. Whether they're here live or replay, we'll have a lot of people replay. And make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Since you're here, might as well. You want to start with Wester? Because I appreciate you adding that. Because I didn't add him, and I add him to bad. Let's start off with bad since he's not in my note. Wester dropped several balls through his wrist, not his hands. He was catching with nubs. The ball was going through his wrist. He wasn't catching with his hands. Them balls went right through his hands like he was trying to catch it with his wrist. And that's everything he dropped. And I know that little play in the beginning, he turned his head, he pulled a Jimmy. Except Jimmy had his back to the ball and he was facing it more like a little hitch. Or like a bubble screen and he turned his head before he caught the ball. So that was like one of his first misses. I know he missed one over the middle. He missed a few, but then he caught the touchdown later. Wester got to do better. If Wester want to get his draft stock up, he's undersized dude. He's one of the top guys in the portal. And if he wants to be that guy, he got to go ahead and he got to make them plays. He won't get a shot. I mean, maybe he'll get free agency at best, and then he got to go up the rough side of the mountain. And see, Xavier Reed could go up the rough side of the mountain because he was a high producer. He just had injury. He was actually invited to the combine from what he produced. This is game 2. And Wester, I said Wester's going to have to be the guy. Wester was open. Wester had his chances. He had his chances to build momentum. I would call it butterfingers as his fingers actually touched the ball. When you catch him with your wrist, that's butter wrist. Butter wrist, not fingers, because his fingers ain't catch nothing. It went through his wrist. He was trying to catch the ball with his arms. Like his hands was hurt or something. You know, maybe we'll get into that. So yeah, them butter wrists. He's butter on his wrist. He said, forget these hands. So again, somebody want to jump up to Shador holding the ball too long. Y'all want to go there? Let's go there. Because I don't quite see that in my notes as far as Shador holding the ball too long specifically. But him holding the ball too long. Somebody point out Weston not catching the punts. Wave out the fair catch. Why just let the ball bounce further back in the end zone? That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I saw you were there at some point. Good thing about it is you left at halftime today, and it was 28, but they didn't score no more, which I mentioned. That's interesting to me. Everybody want to focus on everything. I'm more curious about how you can give up 28 and give up nothing pretty much 2 weeks in a row. But specifically with this offense was moving. They shut it down. Maybe you can say they shut themselves down. That's interesting. But I know they only really scored 21. I know we gave them a pick 6. So we're going to get into that. Because I'm going to look at it like a scientist here. Everybody can cry, and the clown can be a clown. But I'm telling you, I'm going to look at it from a different perspective. Because I'm like, something not adding up to me. Yeah, well, you say 14. Where you come up with that? I know Bentley flicked one, so maybe you talking about Bentley too. I know Bentley will flick instead of not the ball down if you ain't gonna catch it. I don't know where they learn how to catch it. Knock the thing down, you can't catch. Do that. We don't have 2 fluky plays in the world in the week. Like you don't flick the ball into the man arm and he walking in his zone. That was weird. Yeah, I see Bentley. That counts. He gave that up. I mean, it shouldn't have happened, but he gave it up. Defense gave it up. Now I won't count the interception against him. Hey, it's tough when you got angry players coming at you. I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, you can't talk about Shador till you're in the shoes. I mean, because everybody else, you can't say they holding the ball on too. They just got time to hold it. I can say Rhodes holding the ball too. He go like, yeah, he holding the ball too. The difference is he escape out the pocket and throw it away. The difference is, the difference is he had time. That's what I think. I think this possible. Tyler Brown. I mean, he's an interior player. I mean, that's their natural position. I think that was probably going to be the most exciting part. That Tyler Brown was going to get to be guard because he supposed to play the last year. When they flipped over to the other thing, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I don't know. You can say they took their foot off the pedal, but I mean, the man only threw. He didn't throw 200 yards. So you can say they took the foot off the pedal to do more running, maybe because they ran more than they passed. So maybe they didn't have to, but them running the ball should have produced touchdowns or field goals. It's still in. So you can't explain them taking their foot off the pedal because their foot should have put some field goals in. That means they went in the red zone. That means they wasn't scoring. Just because you take your foot off the pedal, you should at least get a field goal or two. They didn't get nothing. So that again, I'm looking at it like you got to dissect this thing a little deeper. And I noticed they did block better in the second half, like compared to the first half. It was chaotic. I noticed that definitively, and that explains how we've actually scored points in the second half. And there's a couple other things that we're gonna get into because I have to. I don't care. No, I got to do it. I got to do it. People have special too has to say today. Okay, let's get into that. Let me make sure that's not in my ugly. Let's get into that. I feel Greg said it. Yeah. We are not on the field as QB. See different things. Yeah. I feel like they do. I don't like the mentality. I said it. I don't like the mentality. And like I said, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. I'm gonna get into something later on. It's gonna be real heavy. I'm not gonna get heavy with y'all because some people can't handle it. Yeah, I haven't caught this, but that's possible. I mean, it was loud. I mean, you're factoring it was loud, so yeah, extremely loud. Um, I don't like see what happened. We was down 7-0, and it was like it got a lot to do with the mindset that I'm gonna talk about later. Yeah, this is what this is where they lost the game. They didn't lose the game clear on the back end, and if they had faith in their back end play, I would think that they would play the front end differently. You already showing that you shun teams down in the second half. I would think that you wouldn't start panicking because now you realize I got a whole game to do this. That's what I don't like about their mentality. That's what I don't like. I don't like this renegade. We gonna go get behind and run them down mentality. I don't like the idea of people say two got to carry the game. I don't like the idea that they feel like they got to score every time they touch the ball. That ain't even freaking logical. I don't think Nebraska did that because clearly they didn't score no freaking more after. They wasn't worried about scoring. They was worried about managing the game. They was worried about not making mistakes, and then you make the mistakes. So it's more the football than scoring. A lot of people, I don't know everybody understand that, but that's what you really saw yesterday. They sheltered that quarterback in a way that he was a freshman, and his freshman mistakes couldn't hurt them. All he knew is he didn't have to make no force plays, and they can run that ball. And even if they running ball wasn't as effective, even though that was a decent run game they had, because you got to look at it. You look at the stats; it's decent because they did better than Colorado, but it doesn't explain them winning by what they won. But we also can take away 7 points that Shador gave them, and it's 21-10. So it's not a whole lot different as far as production. Honestly, the difference was that clearly what we can see they put more pressure on Shador, and we didn't establish run the game. You say we couldn't. That's a lot because the boy had like 6 yards a carry or whatever. So for whatever reason they didn't run or whatever, the same excuse we talked about last year, this and that. That's what happened. But I can't say they didn't have no plan in the beginning. But let's stick with Shador. I don't like this that they feel like Shador has to win the game. That's crazy to me when you in your first quarter and you panicking. You only was down 7-0, and because you panicked, you gave them 14-0 like that. And that's what changed the game. They got you up 7-0, and they got a good punt, got you inside. That was strategy. They punted the ball, which we saw they punted more than Colorado did. They used punting as a strategy. They punted, got them inside, what it was like on the 2-yard line, and instead of handing that ball off or doing something quick, they did something, and it messed Draylon up. Everybody want to know, what was Draylon Miller? What was Draylon Miller? He threw one touchdown. He threw one touchdown. We threw one touchdown. He threw one touchdown. They ran in one that he threw up in the air, and they caught it, and it got caught like a punt, and then they ran that one in. So, but you got to think about it. He only scored 3 touchdowns. He threw one. I think they ran in 2, and we gave him one on the pick 6. That's perspective, guys. That's perspective. And when you panic, like, oh, Tua is not bombing them. Tua is not bombing them. Last year, we started out slow. We really didn't take off on them to the third quarter last year. That panic got to go, man. See, the fans can panic. They don't know nothing about football. Haters can panic because they salivate because they haters and lose. They won't see you lose. But you as the football player, they panic. They panic when they got up on them and they weren't moving the ball like they. So what? You don't move the ball the way you don't want them, the way you want to move. It don't matter. Beat down on them. You can. It's gonna open up eventually, but don't get them the game because you panic. When that boy threw that ball from the far side of the field to the sideline, it was a mishap between him and the true freshman. I'm sure it was supposed to be in a comeback route, maybe to the inside, because Shador threw it, and Shador wouldn't do that. But we saw the freshman keep running to the sideline. The boy caught the ball and walked to the end zone. I don't know about that. But I know that because Star, I mean, what you can say about Star? Star got in fumbling and all kinds of all over the play like he did last year. You can't oversell Star for the sake of Shador. Like he ain't close. He had that one decent game. And that because a lot of them players didn't play. And yeah, he should have won it, but that's a whole nother conversation. You know, because when you look at it, When Shador threw that ball back across the field, I mean, DB ain't got to do nothing to play you inside out. The ball was on the numbers, outside the numbers, on the, as is. He plays inside out. Anything on the inside, I can risk it all. I can risk it all. Because that's a long throw. He got to throw it across me to get to the outside. Even if I mistake it, I still got the sideline to help me out. I ain't got no open field. So I don't know what they read was. It's probably supposed to be like a comeback, and that boy supposed to shield the ball with his body and came back. It was going to be nothing. It was going to be a 2 or 3 yard catch. I don't know what they was doing. I don't know why they weren't running slants and drags like everybody else. I don't even know when the last time I seen a slant and drag. We always talk about them learning from other people. Why are we not running slants and drags? Especially a situation like that, especially when they bring in the house, man, drag them right behind them, man. Drag them right behind them. We throwing stop routes all the way across the field. He jumped the route. You shouldn't even been throwing it, and you should have been throwing that. You shouldn't. And like I said, it gave room. I believe it was a miscue, and the Draylon was gone after that. Yeah, they panicked, man. They panicked like they was already. I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna get into this, but I really want to get into it now, but I'm gonna get into it later because I want to get through this. We got too much good, bad, and ugly to get through, so I want to make sure I kind of get through that before I dig deep. Draylon got out the game. When he made that mistake, whatever happened on that route, he was done. They got him out of there. It was something happened between him and Shador. They shouldn't have been throwing it, but Draylon went out and the Post came in and Shador threw that ball where he thought Draylon gonna be, and Draylon drifted to the sideline. The Draylon kept running and the DB jumped the route. Shador probably hit him, come back to the ball and sit. Draylon ran out. And Draylon was done after that. So that's what happened with Draylon. So that's part of the bad. The slow starts, that's what we're talking about. Why have a slow start? I don't know. I don't know why they play better in the second half. The whole team as a whole played better. The offensive played better in the second half, actually scored. Remember, do I need to get into that now? No, I'm not going to get into that now. Or should I? I got my notes here. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're going to go there for ugly, because that's ugly. So I'm going to hold that thought. Put that on the shelf. Scheme. Everybody say the scheme vanilla. We talk offense. I can't say much about the defense because we see the total yardage. I don't know how much you can say about the defense. I mean, the defense technically only gave up 21 points with mistakes, with Bentley fumbling the ball instead of picking it off. And, defense played decent. Should have stopped the run more at times, but if you look at the actual results, they shut them out. The offense had to help. It kind of reminds you of like the back end of the season, like how they played against like UCLA. The defense was keeping them in the game. Defense actually had turnovers that game, but the offense, the quarterback was running for his life. We couldn't move the ball for nothing. And yet they scored 14 points in the end to beat last year. UCLA beat them by 10. But 14 other points came. So that shows you how close the game was. And that's how I feel like this game would have been if it weren't for that interception. If it weren't for that interception, I think the game would have been different. I think all of that come with it right here. I think the noise and I think they did their job. I think the noise was what it's supposed to be for that. I think everybody gonna sell out. You're gonna sell out everywhere you go. I mean, so of course they're gonna sell out Nebraska. This is one of the last rivals. I heard a stat saying that nobody's ever won 4 in a row, and Colorado had run the last 3. So this would have been the first time in the history of this rival where anybody won 4 in a row. So it's a lot of things. We smacked them last year, pretty much worse than they smacked us this year. It's a rival. They was a good team. I don't think they're great. I think the quarterback is going to be exposed. I said it, and I still think he floats the ball. I think that Colorado not getting pressure on him as much helped him out a lot, but the boy didn't throw a lot. I mean, we had one big pass late in the game that helped him get to where he was at. I think that's like a 40, 50-yard pass. He was running for his life. He just threw it up in the air, and that's when the boy caught the ball like inside the 5 right there. And they converted into a score running it. I mean, he did decent, man. He's a freshman. I give him that. But he's not that Pat Mahomes, all this storyline stuff, keeping football. The boy didn't do that much. I think the running game really helped them a lot, especially at the times they did, because the running game got stuffed up some too. But at that point, when we was really stuffing the run up, it didn't matter because they were just running the clock, possession, and some other stuff I'm gonna get into. Personnel issues, everybody, let's call it what it is. It was a lot of personnel concerns. A lot of people are feeling like who got the wrong running backs in. Now we got Hayden going. He got his leg flipped up. He probably ain't gonna be in there anyway. But everybody crying about Charlie. Charlie might end up being again unless they're gonna put Welch in there. I told y'all some running backs gonna get hurt. We worrying about running backs, people gonna get hurt. We watched 2 of them, didn't even be able to play in the spring game. We had to put Hodge back there. I mean Hodge, what's his name? Why I want to call him Hodge? 17. So and I think he got hurt too. But running backs gonna get their chance. I see Auguste got in. I don't know why they changed his number. He was the only guy to have his Hard. Yeah, Hard. Appreciate it. I don't know why he didn't have his number on. What happened to his jersey? I know he was like number 23, and he coming out number 35, no name on. But he's the one who came in at the end. The running back at the end was Auguste. He looked different. He had to get in there because, of course, how was that? Hayden, he was out. And I don't know. Yeah, they twisted him up. They kind of pulled him down the wrong way. Okay, good for him. I mean, I saw him lip out the film. I saw him. They twisting him up. He's young, so endurable. The way they twisted him up, it was like after that play, it was weird. I wish that they had got everybody some runs in that first game. There's a real evaluation. Forget the starting crap. Let's put different guys in like a preseason and let Welch get in and see who got what. And then so we'd be better prepared. I'm also the person who told y'all over and over again, we won't know until this team, who his team is until about the 4th, 5th game. I've said it 100 times. I said that our talent should hold us over compared to who we're playing against. We should be able to beat. Okay, we lost Nebraska. We should be able to beat Colorado State. We should be able to beat Baylor. And we know by the time we should be able to beat UCF. And by the time we got there, we would really know who was who. I thought about something today. I want y'all to think about this. It's going to be what CU is going to be playing a bowl game. I thought about something today. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll get into that. People talk about Jackson State, Savion Wilkerson, and all that. He had 1,000-yard rushes. A lot of people don't remember. Savion had transferred. I think he went to West Virginia and all that, and then he came down. I think he left Delaware, went to West Virginia. He might have tried to go somewhere else, then he came to Jackson State late in the summer. And we had 38 special. Another walk-on story. Coach Prime is known for these walk-on stories. The guy came from Miles College. He played a few years. He was a water boy, video man. He worked his way to practice squad. He ended up getting this scholarship his last year, just like Charlie. And basically that boy ended up being a star. He was a little dude, slim dude, but he can run. He was quick and he was productive. That boy earned that starting spot. Coach Prime honored it that first couple games. Savion got in a little bit. We had another running back that was known as for his speed. He kept getting hurt. Yeah, he even got hurt after Coach Prime left. But he supposed to be that dude. I think he came from D1 as well. And he kept getting hurt. So they had 3 running backs that they were trying to figure out. And then that boy got hurt like the first game, second game. I think FAMU won the game. And then Savion started again, little care. By the 3rd game, I believe Savion earned that starting spot. And Savion, the talk was that was that air raid, Barcelona air raid that they had. But I'm talking about the running game. The running game was Savion came in about that 3rd game, maybe even 4th, where he got the start. And Savion got over 1,000-yard rushing, and the talk was Savion got like, I don't know, he won far from 1,500 rushing yards, and he didn't even start the first few games. And everybody was like, Savion could have broke because they had a big time running back, Alcorn, big dude. He probably could play D1. He's big old dude, stout. He was the top running back in the conference, even though they didn't win nothing. And Savion, we was like, Savion might could have got him if he had started off the season that way. So it's not foreign that we would have a running back situation because you got the same people there. You got Coach Prime and Coach Flea. Coach Flea still the running back coach. He was the running back coach down there. So don't be surprised that mentality is rolling over. It's very cyclical. We're seeing that confusion now with Coach Prime, like who's gonna be the starter, who's gonna do this, who's gonna do that. We're seeing that. So I'm gonna be real with you. That's what we're running into right now. We don't, it's no, that whole walk-on thing, it happened at Jackson State, and Savion earned that spot, but it took a few games. I think Hayden eventually, by the next game, will be the guy. I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but I think he would eventually be the guy. I think Welch, and injuries and stuff happen. I think people will get more opportunity. Sorry, it worked out that way. I can't explain that. So that's what I remember with that situation as I thought about it with the run game. Charlie is the guy. Charlie is the guy that's like 38 special that was at Jackson State. That walk on who ended up being a starter, and they like to rally. And I don't know what there's something about it. That's my analysis. That's my Greg said analysis right there. So the running game, a lot of people talking about Dylan. Dylan scored 2 weeks in a row, but he coming in as a utility player. He can be happy if he won't. He got in and like, look at Dylan. Dylan ain't doing that, but Hankerson is. And again, that was the FCS school. Hankerson went up there and put up about 150 yards last week up there at Oregon State. So we keeping a close eye on what these running backs, but we know Dylan ain't doing much. McCaskill ain't doing much. So hey, we'll keep it at that. Missed opportunities. I don't know. There was some missed opportunities as we see. We talked about Bentley with that. He could have picked that off. That would have changed. That would at least took one of them touchdowns off the board. It was some plays I feel like they should have made tackles on for loss, and people got yardage out of that. I think that would have helped on some of those conversions, even though we didn't see a whole lot of third down conversions. They must was converting really on first and second down because they really didn't have an exceptional third down conversion. You look at the stats that I read already. Go check them out. They didn't have to do that on fourth down, so really they must have been converting on first and second down, or else they clearly was punting because their third down conversion was about as bad as ours. And we tried a few of them. Now I get into that. And of course, the clock management, that timeout situation at the end, you probably would have got one more play out of it. It wasn't game defining, but people point that out. That whole we had extra 10 seconds. It wasn't going to define the game at that point. Trigger happy, throw 3 back. Yeah. The mix is crazy. Two throwing the balls out of bounds. Yeah. I mean, Travis was fired up about it. I mean, he was holding. It looked like last week. The man held them all the way upfield. You aren't supposed to be touching the doggone receiver after 5 yards. You aren't supposed to be running down the field for 20 yards like this. Like, this is weird. Like, it's a reason. It's supposed to be in a hip pocket for a reason. You're supposed to turn and run. You don't supposed to be able to run down the field and have both of your hands on the receiver as he run and as he try to catch the ball. Now, some of those things, they say, oh, the ball was uncatchable and stuff like that. But the point is, you don't supposed to be having your hands on the receiver. Y'all, I mean, people know the rules. You don't supposed to be touching the receiver after 5 yards. I don't know what they can let them play. You don't supposed to be touching them. Like, if you hand check somebody or something like that, bump them a little bit, that's one thing. But if you're running down the field like it's Thriller, I mean, what is this? What is this? You're running down the field with your hands fully extended, like you doggone Thriller or something, like you're in a horror movie. Like, that shouldn't be allowed. They ain't even trying to be slick. You're supposed to be down the field. You're supposed to be bumping them and knocking their hand down and doing slick stuff. You don't supposed to be controlling them while they going up for the ball. Yeah. So since y'all ready to get in the ugly, I get in there with y'all. I'm ready for the ugly too. Referees. Yeah. Ain't no excuse for them. So That Jimmy situation was so obvious. It reminded me so much of Utah. Now that could have been a game changer for them. Because at that point, you down 28-10. It's still, about halfway through the fourth quarter. The defense ain't scored. Defense ain't scored. They didn't score after that. They didn't score before that. You go down the field and you score on that drive. You at 17. Basically a touchdown and field goal away. And that don't even erase the fact, which I just jump into next since we in the ugly. But that don't erase the fact that earlier, of course, in the first half, the offense was in the red zone 3 times and then score. Not a point. Red zone. Now they did it last week too. I'm taking a transition before I come back to these refs. The offense got in the red zone 3 times. One of them modeled, they say kick the low kick. Another time we went for it. And I know Feely got in there and tried to kick one. That wasn't quite the red zone. But I'm talking about in the red zone, within the 20 yards. And couldn't punch the ball in. That's fixable. That's fixable. Because you were there. See, they're like, Nebraska dominated them. They went in the red zone 3 times, guys. You don't get dominated. Oregon dominated them. They went in the red zone 3 times. They was in the red zone 3 times. If you equate that to touchdowns, that's 21 points. I don't know about y'all, but I think they lost by 18. So they was in position to win this game, as sloppy as it was. They was in the red zone 3 times. That wasn't Nebraska's situation. They wasn't getting in the red zone and not scoring. I would think Welch or somebody come in. Think about that. This is Greg now. Greg said it. Everybody panicking. Let me talk to y'all. See, the right people must not be here. The reality was they was in the red zone 3 times and left without a point. That's not including the other times they got in there and kicked the field goal, score, whatever. They was in the red zone because clearly they kicked the field goal because they got 10 points. So they scored when Western in there and they kicked the field goal another time. But they also got a field goal block because they say it was low. Another one in there, they tried to go for like 4th down, something like that. Didn't get it. And, when we look at it, we had 2 1-yard conversions and failed. So out of all of what I'm talking about, it was 2 times that we only needed 1 yard, and both times we failed. I think one of them was on the 4th down, and one of them was on the 3rd down, I believe. One of them, Shadua tried to QB sneak, and I was like, why is he stuttering? He was fumbling the ball because I guess he was so unusual getting up on the center. He got up on the center, and I was like, why is he hesitating? And they showed he was bobbling the ball. Then he kind of like, honestly, y'all, I'm going to be real with you. You can call this daddy. You can call it what you want. I'll put a big quarterback in for that. I'll put in big old Taylor, that'll be the only job. It's 4th and 1. Bring it in. Bring in the big quarterback. Bring in the big 6'4", 6'6", 230, 240 quarterback. Bring in Wade. Everybody, bring in Wade for the 4th and 1. If we can't run the ball, bring in the big quarterback. Your job, your big behind is to find a seam. Your job is to get behind one of these linemen, and the running back need to come behind you and push. That's it. 1 yard. You 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". Get up on the ball, find a seam, and lay down in it and stretch that ball out and get that yard. That's your only job. That's what I wanted to see. I've been saying that. I ain't even got to put no Dre line. I mean, I get that, but I'll put one of them big quarterbacks in. First of all, what does Shador get in and get his head knocked off? You ain't got no backup quarterback. Bring in one of them big quarterbacks you got on the bench that want to be quarterbacks, really tight ends, and let him run them doggone 4th and 1, 4th and 2. At least you know the quarterback is a risk of running the ball. Even if you hand it off, they got to respect that big old quarterback and get in there. They ain't even expecting Shador to no quarterback sneak. And when he did, he showed and looked comfortable. We can say that, but we that's the obvious, that's low level. We talking about the things that they miss. Even with that being outplayed, does that answer the fact that they couldn't get 2 4th and 1s? I mean, 2 1-down conversions. Okay, they outplayed them. We did get one conversion on a short yardage. I get that. But we had 3 no scores in the red zone. 3. You been outplayed should mean you shouldn't even got in the red zone 3 times, and you converted into no points. So when we go back to Jimmy, if Jimmy, they stole that from him right in front of everybody, the whole world saw it. His foot clearly was down. You couldn't say he bobbled the ball. You can't say no foot was down. The duck on front foot didn't hit the other side because his stride was so long. He dropped the foot a mile before the front foot came down, because really he just had 1 foot up and 1 foot down, and the other foot came down. He clearly had possession of the ball. They had no explanation other than we just gonna call it no. That's what they did to Travis twice in Utah last week. I warned y'all about these refs. They put that game away with that call, because you look at those 3 red zone, even where they got field goals, and they're like, oh, we have just got 6 points or 9 points. If you look at a play like that, now you're only down by a touchdown if you score, because you would have had one of them 3 points. That changes the game, because remember, we already lights out in the 4th quarter. I mean, we already lights out in the second half. If we had got one of them field goals, I'm talking ifs right now. I ain't talking about ifs or fifth and all that. I'm just looking at the dynamics of this game. From you saying it's a blowout, it's no hope. You can call it what you want, out-coached, outplayed. But if you look at, when people really say this, it's really true. When you play in a game like this, it's really only a few plays that really decide that game. Shedeur throwing that interception was one of them. That changed the whole dynamic of the game. Them panicking and act like he'll throw the ball. I don't care if you had to punt it. Get out the end zone, punt it. I don't care. Because you let them walk in the end zone right there. That's no. They'd have to earn it. So that right there, that play on Jimmy right there, and I even say that play Bentley. Well, if Bentley knocked that ball down, it's different as well. Because you take that touchdown away and Jimmy get the conversion, you only down by a field goal. You gotta think about that. If Bentley knocked that ball down or pick it off, if he picked that ball off, and you add that Jimmy play that they took back, you only down by a field goal after that score. So that just shows you how close that game was. They end up beating them by 18. It was sloppy. The stats show they didn't dominate. The score is off because we threw a pick that they didn't earn. We just threw it right to them. It was a screwed up play. You can't blame them for taking advantage of it, but it wasn't due to their dominance. It was due to Colorado's dominance. Not dominance, dumbness. And that's what got them, y'all. Speaking of that, red zone and penalties. Now, we know Colorado had 9 penalties, and they had 12. Yet they only had 1 more yard than Colorado. The reality is none of them penalties hurt them. None of their touchdowns was overturned by those penalties they got. None of those penalties hurt them. Our penalties typically hurt us. 3rd down. Bentley hit the man. That I can add that as a play defining of the game, because Bentley was a bang play. He didn't drive him into the ground. In that case, Shedeur should get a penalty every play. He hit that boy, and they say roughing the passer. They really want to Matt home him, Brady him, because Shedeur get body slammed all over the place. They don't never throw it. Only roughing passer we see is when they knock his head off while he's sliding, targeted. That's the only time Shedeur. Even last year was with Colorado State was knocking Shedeur all over the place. That's the only time they called the penalty, when the boy down there broke his head off. They don't slam Shedeur after every time he threw the ball. It was never a roughing the passer. We finally hit this boy yesterday on a release. Hit. Roughing the passer. What did that do? What did that roughing the passer do? That was what? That was going to get them off the field too, right? not only did it keep them on the field, it ate about another 5-6 minutes off the clock. That only solidifies that solidifies their game, because they ain't scoring and they ain't throwing the ball. They only gonna run it. It was very strategic about that. So when you look at it, you losing time when you get those third down conversions, because the teams they don't play so far, they using time management, time of possession against Colorado. So that's what we're looking at. Yeah. I mean, they probably could call 4-5 a game on Shedeur. I mean, they hit him. We always say, why don't Shedeur slide? And then every time he slide, they hit him in the head. They did it last year when they said that we froze Mata up on kicking. Was it UCLA? They hit Shedeur in the head and he was slow getting off the field, and they weren't gonna call no timeout, so Coach Prime had to use it. It's like yesterday. Colorado, man, you blow on the neck of the quarterback. They're gonna call the penalty. And they're not giving you, once you get behind, they're not giving you a chance to come back. If you got the lead, they're gonna do everything for that team to come back on you. I don't know. I warned y'all all off season. You're gonna have to beat these referees, because you're gonna need some calls, and they ain't gonna give it to you. That call, we shouldn't have to beg them for that call on Jimmy. They don't froze it, reversed it, flipped it, rubbed it down, and we still got it called. It looked just like when Travis caught that ball on Utah in the back of the end zone. It looked just like when Travis, we couldn't review the play because he called it dead. When Travis, the sideline was over here, he stepped right here, and they say he out of bounds. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, when they called back that kickoff return last year on Utah. These guys are out of hand. And you being stupid only gonna make you look stupid like last year, because that's how they beat you last year. How else do you lose all them games by a touchdown and a field goal if they don't keep these games out of your favor with penalties and weird stuff that extend drives to make you run out of time, or to get the team into field goal position, scoring position to beat you by? I mean, when Arizona beat them by a touchdown, Colorado had them beat. Even though they had a slow start against Oregon State last year, it was 20-5 at halftime, which shows you Colorado did this dumb mess last year. Colorado almost came back and beat Oregon, ran out of time with penalties and crap. I think Oregon State might have beat them by a field goal, or no more than a touchdown. Might even been 6 points. Colorado was at 20-5 at halftime at home. Them referees know how to keep blow out the flame of Colorado. You get behind the referees, gonna make it hard for you to come back. We got a bozo the clown here ask the dumb question. That's just dumb. We've been talking for an hour. This can't be that dumb, man. Teams mishandle Shedeur and we never get a call. Yeah, I mean, let's use common sense. How many roughing the passes did he get? He's getting hit more. How do you finally hit the quarterback and you get roughing the passer? You didn't drive him into the ground. You didn't hit him an hour after he threw the ball. You hit him as soon as the ball was released. Clown. Thanks for being here. Nebraska was better than their coaches. Nebraska was a better team, and their coaches had a good game plan. Clearly. Yeah, I mean, but they held last week. You're going to have to beat the hole. I mean, that's one thing about it. You're going to have to beat the hole. Because, I mean, they was holding outside. You know, Travis had the same. You're going to have to beat the hole. And I told y'all that. I said that's the only way they're going to really beat all these elite pass rushers. I said the only way they're going to beat us is they're going to hold us. For the clowns who just got here, you may not know that. But if you've been here, I've been said it. I said that in the summer. I said the only thing that's going to be able to beat these pass rushers, all these pass rushers we got, because you can't pass rush if you've been held. And it don't matter if it ain't been called. I don't know. Maybe we need to watch and see, like, how do you really explain the lack of pressure? Either you get manhandled or you get held. And then we see the holding. I'm trying to see what a manhandling is happening, because if you're not getting to the quarterback and you got all these elite pass rushers and you ain't really hit, how many holes did you hear get called? I know Nebraska had penalties, but how many holds did you see get called? So I don't know. I haven't been watching it that close. Like our sacks don't count. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to make sure I got all my uglies. I do have another ugly. I mean, I think we kind of talked about it with Shador with the sacks and pressure. I mean, I think that's an ugly thing. He had some sacks. How many sacks did he have? How many sacks did they have? Let me go back up to player. Is it player stats or team stats? I don't know how many sacks they had. I'm trying to pull the stats. You know, you try to have your stat stuff and then want to freeze up. Because I look at it, they probably had no more than 6 sacks, but they had a whole lot of pressures. Because Shador was 23 out of 38, and Little Raiola was 23 out of 30. They both threw a touchdown. Shador had a pick. I'm trying to see how many times he was sacked defense-wise. I see a lot of individual stats. Yeah, it looked like you're looking at about, it shouldn't be no more than 6 sacks. So sacks and pressures were significant. I think the pressures was more significant than the sacks because, like I said, he was getting hit regardless. Yet you're not gonna really hear much about. I mean, I'm trying to see because how many roughing the passers when do Shador get roughing the passers? Because I ain't never seen him get called roughing the passer in the pocket. Only time I seen Shador get called roughing the passer is when he on the run, and I don't even know if that's a passer. I think they call personal foul. I don't. When is the last time I mean, let's even look at last year. When is the last time I seen they call roughing the passer? Shador was the most sacked guy in the league. You would think he would have more roughing the passer than anything because he's getting hit so much. But yet he probably got the least roughing the passers, but he getting sacked the most. The only time he get called for getting hit is when they hit him on the run and he's sliding. They look identical when he do. They say cam treatment. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, I think they had a good scheme. The quarterback played into it. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. It was no fumbling as much as they said Nebraska do. They wasn't fumbling. They did what they supposed to do as far as taking care of the ball. I think that the quarterback, as long as they protect him, I don't think they're going to be that good. I think they're a good team. I think the defense good. I think from what I've seen, what Colorado could have, would have, should have did, I think that Nebraska, they defensive line really carried them. They were very disruptive. They didn't necessarily come home, but they was very disruptive. I think the ends probably came home more than anybody because it's blitzing off the end. But I think the offense is going to have challenges when it comes to a defense that really can do what we did the second half. And you know, they can contain those guys up front. I think they probably, I don't think they're going to win the conference. But I think they'll do decent. But I don't think they're going to win the conference. I think when you finally put that pressure on that quarterback, I think he is going to have some turnovers. I don't think they're going to be able to fully hide behind that running game like that. But I think their scheme was perfect for Colorado. Clearly, they played them last year. And if you get Shador the time that boy had, because that boy sat in that pocket, and you say he didn't hold the ball too long because he had time to hold it. Oh, you only blame somebody for holding the ball too long when they running for their life. Because you telling them to throw the ball away. You ain't complaining about nobody back there like this holding the ball too long. I bet he held the ball far longer than Shador. The difference is Shador had somebody in his lap come around the back, and It is what it is. On the road, they will have problems. I don't know what that means other than the matchup. I mean, who they play on the road? Because I know Utah's back at home. I think Oklahoma may be back home. So they toughest matchups on the road is going to be Kansas, which is a neutral site. I know, unless you talk about next week, that's on the road. UCF is on the road. So I'm gonna say something that I haven't said yet that I want to say. I got this this theory that I wanted to prove wrong. I ain't saying anything about it, but it's a thing what should do. You hit it right on the head. Yeah, I think that. Oh, you talking about Nebraska gonna have? Yeah, depending. I don't know who they playing, but I know their conference gonna be more suited for what they trying to do. They're gonna be more suited. But I'm thinking about. I'm gonna give y'all this theory I ain't put out there yet. I've been watching Colorado in these night games. It was a thing last year, and then they gave them 3 straight this year. I have not seen them play a good night game yet. Let the clown take it the way they want to. I got time today. That Nebraska, I mean not Nebraska, that Stanford game last year, night game. That even though it wasn't as late, the Arizona State game, night game. And see the Stanford game was on a Friday, I believe, and then they did Washington State. That was a night game. It was on a Friday. I think they both was on a Friday. But man, they did not do. They do horrible. I mean, it just feel like the doggone goblins come out on them on them night games. We noticed that last year when the night fall on them, they just do weird stuff. I mean, because UCLA, the night fell on them. When they played Oregon State, I think that was during the day. It was Arizona. The night fell on them, and it was home games. But it was them night games. They get out there and act like they're not focused. And they have these slow starts, or they don't play full game. And we try to rationalize it like, well, they practice during the day. I don't care if you need to practice at night the whole week. I don't know if it's not beneficial. I don't know what. I don't need no one practice. And now you practice that night that whole week. Y'all play a night game if y'all can't adjust. I mean, so is high school. It's not about an excuse. It's like high school. You should be used to it because most of your high school career you played at night. But it's a difference, I guess. I don't know, because high school you like in school all day, then you go play. I don't know. In my school, like I don't know if y'all got to go off and sit in the hotel, but they go sit in the hotel the whole day and have meetings the whole day, and it's like their mental is like fried by nighttime because they used to being getting on in the morning and being done. I don't really see a lot of teams play a lot of night games, but I do see that Colorado has 3 straight night games. That's weird to me. And I don't like it because they have not played well. I mean, you even look at the Colorado State last year. That was their first night game. And that's when the doggone Gremlins came out. TCU was a day game. It was all like big noon. Then they played Nebraska. Then they played that night game. And that's when them Goblins came out. I want to be proven wrong. That's why I ain't say nothing. But these night games been really weird. Yeah, they got to worry about their season. Because these are not conference games. Colorado got to worry about their conference games regardless, and Nebraska got to worry about theirs. I'm glad this day Super Bowl, but they got some people ready to knock their head in up there in the Big Ten. So it ain't gonna be cute. They can be cute if they want. Their offense got to step up. I'm gonna be real with you. Their offense was not that impressive. Their defense was more impressive. Colorado dumb errors in the first half was impressive, but Colorado shut their butt down. They better realize that. Colorado shut them down. And somebody gonna watch film on that. So while you been all cocky, Nebraska, I'm glad your Super Bowl here because Colorado shut y'all down. And if Colorado's such garbage, I mean y'all in trouble. You better hope Colorado not garbage because they shut you down. They goose-egged you the second half. So the conference is coming. And what we see here. I guess looking forward, learning to play keep away is going to have to be Colorado's thing. not just always about scoring. Again, they panic in that first part of the game because like, I got to score, I got to score. You got a whole game, you shut them down. The clowns love it. You goose at them. You goose at them. You goose at Nebraska. They didn't score not a dime, not a drip, not a drop. So you and your defense is showing that. Yeah, and then that's another thing I was gonna say. I mean, it's just football is weird out here. From the first week, people Oregon barely survived, but so did and you look at the Big 12. I mean, I didn't want them to lose because I didn't want all the teams to be in the conference. They have no rank, and then Colorado do beat them, and then they say, fool, y'all ain't beat nobody. So when I looked at Kansas State struggling out there, Kansas State was struggling with Tulane. I didn't want to see them lose. I mean, I want to see them lose, but then it's like they're gonna lose their rank. They barely rank, then they lose to an unranked team, and then you watching Arkansas beat up on Oklahoma State, and then somehow they snuck back in it. So it's like I didn't want them to lose as much as I wanted them to lose. I wanted them to be as high ranked as possible. I want Kansas State to be ranked when they come to Boulder. Just because I didn't, they Colorado undefeated or whatever their record is. I wanted to count for some when they beat them. So you have no excuse not to rank them. But both of them teams barely hung on. People can be cocky all they want. Some teams struggled. Michigan got beat to sleep, but we ain't worried about them. It's just that these rankings gonna move around. Colorado just gotta hang in there if they think they want to go somewhere. You gotta hang in there because teams definitely gonna lose, and they are losing. So you can't lose with them if you're trying to make it somewhere. If you ain't, say it. And again, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, because we're gonna be talking about that. I have a concern about the locker room, and that kind of goes to what I'm talking about later, as far as that spirit and attitude that go around when people don't play, and when you lose in that combination, it can spin out of control. It can spin out of control, and like I said, losing doesn't help them. So I have a concern about that because I don't like the way they respond to losing. I don't like the way they respond to losing. This is second game, and you lose one. It's like yeah. But you got a long season. You can't. A lot of people gonna lose games and have runs, or a lot of people don't lost games. So you can't sit up here and just go pouting because you lost a game, regardless of what your excuse is and whatever. That just doesn't fly. When Nebraska go get their butt beat next week, do they just go and cry? Maybe. I don't know. They shouldn't. It's part of the game, and I don't like that. And like I'm saying, I'm gonna get into that. Later. Attitude is everything. I mean, it's early in the season. Fans included. You ain't playing no ball, but putting all that out there, it's not gonna help. Put all that whining out there, it's not gonna help. It's too early. It's almost like if you doing all that now, why you even show up? Player, fan included. Like that ain't football. I mean, you can't. We can spectate, but yeah, I mean, you got a long season. What you gonna do? And you're not a winner if you can't lose, because you can't control you lose. I've seen teams lose in the SEC championship, go win the national championship. I mean, how do you respond to losing, especially when you lose? I don't lay out the facts. Only the clown who want to believe what they want can believe what they want, But I laid out the facts. We saw what we saw, and then we see the facts. Only a few games made that. I mean, a few plays made that difference in that game. And the problem is, you got to know how to adjust. I ain't talking about just adjusting in plays. I'm talking about adjusting your attitude. You can't be a loser. Some people win. We got people come here, they talk. They're not a winner. A winner know how to win. A winner know how to act like they've been there before. If we won this game, we don't, Nebraska, what are we, 12 years old? 10, 9, 8? That ain't football. Because if you beat somebody you're supposed to beat, you got to act like you've been there before. Yeah, it's cute with rivalry and stuff like that. But the reality is, win, lose, or draw, they got to go play Colorado State next week. I hope they don't burn out on these emotional games. That's the reality. If you, whether you won, lost, not, you still got to go. If you won and go get whooped next week, what does it matter? If you get beat this week and beat the mess out of them, that matters more because it's the next week. This ain't the last game. This ain't your only game. You got how many more games left? 10? And you whining. Win, lose, or draw. You got to go on. Only maybe these clowns that represent Nebraska, I hope they team don't think like that. You won. You got to be ready for the next whooping you can get next week. Because you act like you bulletproof. You just got shut out. You got shut out by a sorry team. So you got to make corrections too. Win, lose, or draw. You got to make corrections. Good thing that a lot of these people ain't on the field. Because this thing goes on. And I'm going to dig deeper into that. I'm going to close with that. You got to be ready to move on appropriately. You can't pout just like you can't gloat. A loser pouts and a loser gloats. You know a loser who don't know how to win. Like if you win and then you go get your butt whooped next week, you couldn't handle winning that much. You lost composure. You lost focus. You can't be neither one. You can't panic because you lose no more than you can gloat like you ain't never won before or like you ain't got to keep winning. We're going to get more into that. But I'm just Greg. Greg said it. Shout out to Unified Strength. Boy, you're going to need unity and you're going to need strength going forward one way or another. That's what I represent. If you're going to fall apart as soon as you lose, what good is you? You and anybody. It's a long season left. What you going to turn it in? You going to turn your season in? Just like you couldn't turn your season in 2-0. All they going to say was, you was 2-0 last year. I told y'all there's no win here. You got to have stamina and longevity. Shout out to Unified Strength. We're going to have more coming in. We're just going to do some this week. We're going to have next week. I have more information coming out. I got a tailgate coming up at the UCF game. Everybody come down, have some food, have some sort of meet and greet. That's a few weeks away. Be looking out for more details on that. And what we got here? Hey, man, I already told you, man. They got only people do that. I mean, I don't even put that on the Nebraska. They're a winning football team. Surely they don't have that mentality. That's a loser mentality. Only a loser is excited about winning one game. And I'm happy for them because they got blew out last year. And so good. Because I think they say Colorado has won 3 out of the 4. And they say it's never been 4. So maybe that serves true. Congratulations for your 1 win out of 4. I'm happy for y'all. Now go on and don't get whooped next week up down at Big 10. Because we got our own concerns in Big 12. Go on now, you hear? This is Greg. Greg said, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll be talking to y'all real soon. You hear? So now a word for our sponsor.